Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Documentary Club. I'm Jeff Jones, and it's great to have everybody here. Starting out solo, maybe we'll see Jack later in the broadcast, but I just want to thank everybody, welcome everybody in who joined me in the premiere. And just an interesting documentary, as I said in the premiere. It kind of brings up more questions than it finds us a conclusion to. So I'll be happy to have someone maybe join in with me and maybe talk about it. Really, the crux of this documentary really lies on on the stand your ground laws. And in the premiere, I think there were some really good comments that talked about how stand your ground laws are, number one, controversial, and number two, they vary from state to state. So in just a little bit, I'm going to talk about stand your ground laws and maybe talk a little bit about how they're different. And we'll look a little bit more specifically at the Alabama's stand your ground laws. But first, I wanted to welcome everybody who is in the chat. So Kay, nice to see you, even though you are screwed up with the mountain time. Sheila Hawkins, always great to have you. Just Rhonda, nice to see you here. And Becca Chu. And I think that's everybody for now. Anybody else who's lurking out there and hasn't commented yet, I appreciate you guys joining. Do me a favor and hit the like button if you can. Really helps me kind of build an audience. And so today, as I said, we're talking about the state of Alabama versus Brittany Smith. And I would love to hear some more feedback about what people have to say. And it looks like we have mostly women in the chat here. I think it's all women in the chat. So I'm going to drop that link. And if anybody wants to join me, you guys are welcome to join me to talk about this. And so here's the link in the chat. Becca Chu had written a comment, and I think it was in jest, that says, "What have we learned?" Oop. James is here. James, all right. Nice to see you. What have we learned? Men suck. Well, maybe. I hope you're just joking a little bit on that. Just Rhonda says, "I'm really sorry I didn't watch the documentary." That's okay. Actually, it's only like 40 minutes, so you could definitely finish that one up pretty quickly, Just Rhonda. So no worries there. Basically, I'll give you a little recap. Brittany Smith is a woman in Alabama who was being attacked, was assaulted. She kind of got away from her assaulter and was able to get to the gas station, and then she went back home, and then her brother came and her brother was wrestling with this guy who assaulted her, Todd, and then she shot Todd. And so there's a lot of details, so I definitely recommend you guys checking out the documentary as well. But before we get too deep, I wanted to invite Katie Did It. Katie, nice to see you.
Hey,
hi.
How are you?
Hey, welcome. How are you?
I'm well.
Sorry, I kind of have a little bit of a cold today, so I apologize for my voice.
Oh, it's just terrible, Jeff.
It's just scratchy and rough. Yeah. I don't know. Something's going around. I think I maybe partied too hard on the 4th of July. Did you have a good 4th of July holiday, Katie?
I did nothing.
Okay, me too. Well, I went to my friend's house and hung out for a little bit, and maybe I picked up a little cold from them.
I mean, I didn't do nothing. I worked at a rental property all day like a dog. But I'm on vacation now, so it's all good.
Well, happy vacation to you. That's always a great feeling. Yeah. Let's see here. We got Susan in the chat. Hey, Susan. And good to see everybody else in chat. So, Katie, I guess I'll open it up to you because you're here. And just what were your thoughts about this documentary?
You know, first of all, I just thought it was so bizarre that right off the bat, she told a lie. But then I tried to put myself in her position where she's trying to get her kids back, which I can't really relate to that, but
But if you lost your kids, you would do just about anything to get them back.
yeah, and
Lie,
I
cheat,
mean,
and steal.
it seems like she had turned her life around and she was working really hard. I'm sure she was having to go through drug testing to get where she was.
Right.
I also found it kind of odd that the what was the guy's name?
Todd?
That Todd
Mm-hmm.
let her go into the store without him.
Right.
Why would he? I mean, there
And
were
did he
just a
have a
lot of things
weapon?
that didn't make sense. I mean, so
Yeah.
she could say, "Hey, tell," you know, and then she tells her brother that he needs to go back. Where's Todd when she's telling her brother
Todd
to
went in
go
the
back?
house
And
first.
yeah,
So,
how's that? I
so
mean, why didn't she just jump in the truck and leave with her brother if he went in the house for? I don't know. It just, there were a lot of
yeah,
weird things for me.
and I think this is why the judge said that you're just not believable. Your testimony is not
Yeah.
I'm not buying your testimony, basically,
Mhm.
because there was just too many holes in the story. Right. Like
Mhm.
if you can tell your brother right now, if I can tell you in so many words, you need to go back to this gas station and ask the attendant what happened. Why don't you just tell me what happened now? Why do I have to go back to the gas station? Why does she have to be the one to tell me?
Yeah, what was she thinking that that would get him away from there so that he could have time to formulate a plan before he came back, or so he wouldn't do, I mean, which
I
he
mean,
didn't. He just raced right back without calling any reinforcements. I mean, why would you not call the police?
and as he said, he carries a gun on his hip. So why didn't she just say, "Hey, go in there and tell him to leave. He needs to leave. I'm gonna call," and then call the cops? Why all
Who lay
this
Yeah.
running
Who lays
around?
yeah. Who lays the gun on the counter? Like,
Hey, you know what? I'm gonna put the gun right here, and now I'm gonna struggle with you and fight with you.
and then we'll see who can get the gun, because that sounds like fun.
So
The whole
that's
thing was just jacked.
right. And so I think you nailed it there. This is why she was unsuccessful in using
Mhm.
the stand your ground, because there were too many questions related to it. Um, had she shot him when he was assaulting her, I think it would have been a successful use of the law.
Mhm.
One of the things that I'm going to pull up the law here in just a second that I think I may have been wrong about, and that stand your ground laws do actually allow for you to defend someone else. I mean, every state is a little different. So I'm going to pull up, let's see if I can pull up Alabama's right now. I had a general, let's see here. Sometimes we use the old artificial intelligence and it gives us a quick readout of what stand your ground laws are and how they're used, generally speaking. Let me see if I can pull up one of those here. I'm going to take this one first. So this is a web page. This is a web page of Jim Golden Law, an Alabama attorney, and they kind of break down some of the general facts about stand your ground. And Alabama stand your ground law does allow you to use force, and even deadly force, in defending yourself and your family without the
Mhm.
obligation to retreat when faced with any perceived threat that could do harm. This currently complex law was enacted in 2006, but has been subject to much debate. So if we read that, it does say yourself and your family. So I guess that was one thing that I misinterpreted, that I just thought it was only for you. If you're being attacked, you can fight back. But apparently, if someone is attacking your family member, you do have the right to, use deadly force. So that's a little bit different than my understanding before. And again, every state's a little different. I think most of us probably first heard about this in the Trayvon Martin case way back in, oh gosh, what year was that? 2012.
12.
That's what I was going to guess. That was my guess.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think that's the first time I had ever heard of stand your ground laws,
Right.
and but yeah, I didn't really know that you could use it to defend your family as well.
Yeah, that may be the first time a lot of people heard about stand your ground laws, um, since Black Lives Matter formed as a result of that case. I
Of
mean,
the Trayvon Martin case, right?
well, specifically of the acquittal of Zimmerman, George Zimmerman.
Right. I thought there was something interesting on here that I wanted to check out. Maybe it was on a different one of these. I actually have the Alabama Code, the self-defense, deadly physical force. I don't know. It's only 3 pages long, but it's I think it's kind of legalese. Number one, using or about to use unlawful deadly physical. A person may use deadly physical force and is legally presumed to be justified in using deadly physical force in self-defense or in the defense of another person pursuant to Section 5 if the person reasonably believes that another person is using or about to use unlawful deadly force, using or about to use physical force against an occupant of a dwelling while committing or attempting a crime, committing or to commit kidnapping, assault, burglary, robbery, forcible rape, forcible sodomy. And so I guess I kind of changed my opinion. I think
Yeah.
it's not as close as or it's not as far away as I thought it was. Apparently, you are in the Alabama Code. You're allowed to use deadly force, even if it's not directly at you, like if it's at a family member, which is a little bit different than I had understood it.
I wonder what the statistics are, though, as far as how many cases that involve stand your ground involve males versus females.
Well, according to the documentary, I didn't see the stat, but they said that it was overwhelmingly more used by or I guess how do you say it? That men successfully use it more than women and minorities. So they are able to apply this defense more successfully. And I think that's a good question. Well, like who attempts to use it more? I'm just looking up a web page.
While you're doing that, Rhonda says, knowing nothing about this case, if she left the scene, then returned with intent to harm, how would stand your ground even apply? So, well, she did leave with the person that she accused of, holding her hostage basically and raping her.
Mhm.
And then they returned together. I mean, I guess you would still say that she's still in his custody, basically.
I don't remember him having a weapon though.
Did he? I can't remember if he assaulted her physically, other than, I mean, of course he raped her, she says, but did he, was he beating her?
She did have quite a few bruises on her. Yeah, she was definitely beat up.
So the
And
weapon was his hands, I
was his
guess.
hands. But if your brother has
Has
a
a gun.
gun and he
Yeah.
has hands, why don't you just
Yeah.
immediately say, "Hey, brother, this guy
Take care
raped
of it.
me." And you know what? One of the things that I do think is fair to extend to her is that when you're in shock, you
Mhm.
don't always make the best decisions. And
But you're not gonna lay your gun on the counter. I
he's not
mean,
in shock. Right. The brother's not in shock, right? He wasn't just assaulted. So why would you lay the gun on the counter? Exactly. I mean,
he could have held the guy at gunpoint. He could have called the police
mhm.
from the convenience store. I mean, he didn't have to go back over there by himself and handle that. Yeah, Becca says he choked her. We watched it before we left, and I've already spaced it out. If it didn't happen this morning, I don't know.
No, I mean, I just reviewed it, and details can disappear over a week. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think I feel for her. I think that number one, she did the right thing by taking that plea deal. There's no way that she would have won in court. I don't think.
Oh, yeah.
I think a jury would have been really questionable of the same thing that we just said. So then you went to the gas station with him, and then when you got free from him, you like why didn't like here's the sticking point. You get back home with your brother, and number one, she didn't know that the brother was coming with a gun. She called her mom. She expected mom to come
Right.
without a gun. Why didn't she? If she knew that her brother always had a gun, why didn't she say, "Hey, can you have my brother come over and take me to the?" You know what I mean? If she's
Maybe she
trying,
was, yeah, maybe she was afraid the brother would just say, no, I'm too tired.
mm,
I don't need to take you to get cigarettes in the middle of the night. Like, who calls someone to go get a pack of cigarettes at, what was it, like 2:30 a.m. or something?
yeah, it was
Seems
something.
like it was some weird time.
Yeah, and the mom felt bad. She was like, "But it was it was cold and my hair was wet and I didn't want to leave the house, so I sent my son." And I
Of
get
course,
that.
when you have different households sharing one vehicle, that's a whole different situation too. So you
Yeah.
probably make a lot of concessions, I guess.
I
I
do
don't
remember
know.
that part, Sheila. You're right that Todd did make her put the phone on speaker so she couldn't say anything. But
She still could have asked her brother to come get her some cigarettes, but maybe she thought that would be too suspicious for him, having a man come over versus he could
yeah,
handle her mom, maybe.
maybe that was the idea.
Yeah, I don't
There's
know.
just too many questions that I just don't think she would have ever got past a jury. I just don't. I think she took the right thing. And I said in the premiere, like, a guy lost his life. He had assaulted her. She got 6 months in prison and some home confinement. Sometimes the results are a mixed bag. It's
Mhm.
not all good. It's not all bad. But for her, I think taking that plea deal was the right choice.
Well, prosecutors obviously knew that it wasn't a real strong case. I mean, they had to have doubts too, offering her 6 months. I mean,
It's a good point. That's a really good
that's
point.
not that's not the kind of plea bargain you would expect
They
to
must have
get.
had some sympathy for her situation or something to offer her such a low,
Yeah.
especially because she had a record with drugs. So she's not, I
Mhm.
mean, she hadn't had violent crime, but she was in the system, right? She had, been an offender of stuff. So
But she also had a record with cleaning herself up and being on the verge of getting her kids back, and I
good point.
I can almost guarantee you that that involved weekly drug testing. So she had a documented um, turnaround, I guess you could say.
I mean, that should be a factor. I think
May
it's
have been.
realistically, yeah, a factor. Sheila says, I'm finishing up trial 4 now. I saw that one. I might have to check that out. Have you
That's
seen that one,
good.
kid? Is it a good
Mhm.
one?
Yeah.
Next week, we're going to talk about Power, the documentary about really the origins of policing.
Hmm.
Where did we start policing? What is the history of police? How race plays a big factor in how police forces are developed. It talks a little bit about qualified immunity. Talks about police unions. It talks about how the police, like who polices the police,
Hmm. They
right?
do.
They do, and
Yeah,
that's the
who does?
problem. And that's the problem, right? Is
There you
that
go.
they police themselves, right?
What could be wrong?
Mm-hmm. So next week we'll be talking about Power. So I hope you guys check that out. It's on Netflix
Cool.
right now.
Sounds good.
Yeah. But Trial 4, might have to check that one out. Can you give me a little breakdown about what that one's about?
I
Trial
can't
4?
remember.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
It didn't happen this morning,
I know I
but I know it
loved
was
it.
good. I
I
know I
watched
liked
it when
it.
it first came out. I watched too many documentaries. That's the problem.
Yeah. I also watched quite a few off topic here. I started watching Unlocked, which is about an experiment in a jail where let's see here, they have like 40 some inmates, and they're on a 23-1 schedule, so they're locked up for 23 hours. They only get out for 1 hour a day. And then the sheriff was like, I don't like this. I want to experiment with it, and I'm going to let you guys out. I'm going to unlock the doors, and you guys have to become a community. And I'm like, what? They want to make a reality show in jail? I don't know. So there's some ethical questions about it. I don't know if I'll review it on this show, but I definitely have some ethical concerns and just some practical concerns about you didn't study it, you didn't research it, you just kind of off the cuff want to try something. I don't think that's appropriate. I don't know.
I don't know. Coming from a 23-1 situation, that might actually work. I guess it depends on what
But
pod
wouldn't
you're dealing with
to
because,
me, if you go from 23-1, how about let's start 22-2, and then let's start 20-4, and then let's do 18-6. You know what I mean? We don't
sure.
just drastically go one way and say, oh, it either works or it fails, and therefore this is good or bad based on this little experiment in Arkansas that they're running it in a jail in Little Rock, Arkansas. So I don't know. I have, just Rhonda, she asked, have you ever seen 60 Days In? And I did see 60 Days In. If you guys aren't familiar with that one, it's where they take people who, correct me if I'm wrong, just Rhonda, but they take people who are not criminals and put them in jail, and then they film the whole thing in a reality show, and they see if they can get by being a jail inmate. Yeah, that's another one where it's just like, why are we experimenting with this? Why are we? So anyway, there's a lot of ethical, but I did see 60 Days In, and I did like it. Just Rhonda. I don't know, and that's kind of what drew me into this one, Unlocked, is that I had seen that before. But anyway, it's something to check out. Let me know if you guys have an opinion on that.
Check out Worst Roommates Ever.
I
It's on
saw that one,
Netflix. Oh
and
my
then
gosh, we're 2 episodes into that. That is weird.
how many episodes is that one?
I'm not sure. Stacy, do you
Okay.
know how many episodes there are?
10 or 12, I think.
10 or 12, he thinks.
Interesting.
Yeah, so for people who don't know what that is, each episode is like 50 minutes long, and they're standalone cases of things that go wrong with horrible roommates. Really wrong. Bizarre.
Yeah, I was trying to find some more statistics on Stand Your Ground while we were talking, and I kind of got distracted here. It's definitely a controversial law. Not every state, I believe, has it. I think mostly like I don't want to say for sure, but I feel like a lot of the southern states have it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, I know.
Check right now.
I know Florida, Texas, and Oklahoma all have it.
So I got the list here: Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Maryland, and Colorado are the like 15 states have it.
It seems like more red states would have it than
It does seem like that. Yeah, it
blue
does seem like
states, but I guess that's
just the way that laws work sometimes, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah. So, it was a short documentary. But anyway, does anybody have any questions or comments about the documentary in general? I'd love to hear about it. I'm trying to stay caught up on the chat here. Oh my God, I just watched the first 2 episodes of The Worst Roommate Ever. Crazy ass cases. Utah has stand your ground laws from 1996. Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, it's an interesting, at least it was kind of eye opening to me. The fact that they say that it does tend to be more successful with white men are successfully using it. And, I said in the premiere, like, you would think that, as women who are assaulted more often, that it would be kind of the opposite, that more women would be using this as a defense. But apparently that's not how it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Made by white men, used by white men, I guess.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Well, I don't know. It's interesting that in some situations, depending on which police officer or whatever you're talking to, when you've been as a female, you've been involved in a domestic situation, they don't necessarily always want to do anything to help the woman. I mean, you can get a protective order, but that doesn't really, there's not a whole lot of protection with a protective order. I mean, speaking from past experience where, someone violates the protective order and then it's more like a contempt charge than, hey, we're going to lock this person up. So I don't know. It's, I guess, how law enforcement interprets things, or how prosecutors and judges interpret things. I guess it's just like a case by case, person by person, what their views are as far as what they think of women, maybe. I don't know.
I'm glad that you joined, because as Jack and I said, we really wanted a perspective from a woman, and we're just 2 guys, and being able to get another point of view is always important.
Yeah.
Just Rhonda says protective orders are only good on the paper they are written on. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty scary to be in a real situation like that where, where you are truly in danger and you don't feel like you have the protection of your local police department, and whatever the case may be, maybe they've seen far worse than what's going on here or whatever. Too often they don't really do anything until someone gets hurt. So.
Yeah. I mean, I hope at least if people see this documentary, it gets us thinking, it gets us talking about it. And I think that's important.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know where Jack is today. He's MIA, missing in action. I don't know if anybody out there has spoken to him today, but let me know if you have.
Maybe he's asleep.
That's my guess. My guess is that he hit the snooze button and cruised through it. It's a tough Monday morning, or Monday afternoon. So either way, we'll be looking out for Jack on the next one. And as I said, we are talking next week about, just give you a little, where did it go? Here we go. About power. Let's give you guys a little bit heads up. It's it's a documentary about the beginning of the police force in the US? Where did we decide to come up with policing? How did we design that? What are the origins of policing? Um, what defines police brutality? So we talk a lot about issues kind of adjacent to this. So I think it's a really good one for us to kind of dig into a little bit about what is the history of policing? Where does it come from? Where did they get their power from? Because they get their power from us, the people, right?
Mhm. They
And
forget
yet
that a lot.
they forget that, right? And there's not many checks and balances on their power, and they have immediate power. And I think in the documentary, if you guys check it out, they talk about how they have immediate power, that a politician, they say in the documentary, a politician can't shoot you. A cop can.
Mhm.
Right. They have the immediate power of the state. And when we give them the power of the state, um, how do we define that? How do we, and are we happy with how it has been utilized? And does it need reform? And the answer for me is I'm not always happy, and I think they do need to have reform. But as I said earlier, if they're the ones policing themselves, how
That
can we
does
expect them to have reform?
that doesn't work. And the auditors are probably one of the things that makes some officers think twice before they do some shit because, that stuff's on YouTube forever. And
Mhm.
but yeah, that's still not enough, that you
And
can't
so,
have all these internal investigations that are basically I don't know, just to pacify people because you don't ever know what happened in the investigation. It's the same thing with grand juries. Everything within a grand jury it's secret, it stays sealed. So let's handle all this shit with a grand jury that we don't want anyone to uh, know how we covered this up. Um, anyway, yeah, it will be an interesting show for sure.
yeah. So I hope you guys check out Power on streaming on Netflix right now. I kind of picked that one because we're always talking about criminal justice, and it's gonna definitely be an interesting one. Just a single episode, so you guys can definitely consume that one pretty quickly. Looks like it came out in this year, 2024, so it's a new one.
Cool.
Oh,
Looking
I
forward
wanted
to
to
it.
ask you, could you explain to people out there who maybe don't know what auditors are?
Oh, so um, auditors, follow, well, law enforcement basically are the ones that I have been watching, follow them around and just, record them in publicly accessible areas. And what they're doing is they're just exposing how little law enforcement actually knows about the law. They get these really stupid cops on video, telling them, "Oh, you can't come in here and record. This courthouse is private property." Stuff like that. Like,
Hmm.
oh, really? We the people pay for that. It's not,
Right.
I own this courthouse.
Like, yeah, right? I don't know why my
Right.
camera always gets fuzzy. I
I
hate
don't
that.
know. You are
Does
fuzzy.
it all the time. I'm gonna turn it off for a minute. I'm still here.
But
Um,
yeah, it's one of my favorite ones because some of these auditors are so disrespectful. I can't really watch that crap. I really don't
oh,
have
right.
any I don't have any space in my being for that kind of stuff. But Sean Paul Reyes, um, he is Long Island Audit on
Hmm.
YouTube,
Hmm.
and he does some. He always tries to stay very respectful. He asks a lot of questions. And it's just interesting. I mean, I've learned a lot from him just watching those. So,
Yeah. So
it's a good one
auditors.
to check out.
Oh, hey, look at this. Somebody's commenting. Here we go.
How was the nap, Jack?
Power is a really interesting documentary that gives us some insight into the origins of policing. Absolutely, Jack. So glad to see you here with us, Jack. Sorry you missed the premiere. Maybe you took a little snooze, but we can all use a nap here and then, right? I feel like I need a nap one of these days. So yeah. We'll talk about that next week. Let's see, does anybody else have any more comments about this or that or the other thing? Drop your suggestions about what we should talk about next. I think that one that they would trial 4, we might have to take a look at that one and let us know what you guys think we should take a look at, because I'm open to checking out just about any documentary. And the thing is it doesn't necessarily have to be crime related. We've just been on this kind of thread where we've been covering a lot of the crime related documentaries, but it doesn't have to be related to crime or law enforcement. So just keep that in mind as you guys recommend them. I love just about any documentary that's out there. I enjoy checking them out. Yeah. I don't know if Jack was going to join us. Maybe he's going to hold off and we'll just go. I don't know if he's going to join, maybe not. So kind of wrapping it up towards the end. Katie, do you have any comments that you'd like to add?
I can't really think of anything.
Yeah, I'm kind of running out, but I really appreciate everybody in the chat. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for checking out the documentary. Make sure that try to watch it before, but not necessarily have to. We should watch Sybil. No, we probably shouldn't. Sybil, the one with Sally Field? Is that what you're talking about? Sybil?
Maybe there's a documentary named Sybil.
So the only one I know is the movie with Sally Field from. Oh, yeah, okay. For the 1976 film Sybil with Sally Field. Anyway, I don't know if that's a documentary though. We'll have to. But hey, I did say that we might expand into movies someday, so we can watch movies together as well. And I found out that there are quite a few documentaries and movies that are copyright free that we could probably watch together. So I might look into that. We'll see how that goes in the future, trying to expand and to do a little bit more. But for today, I think that's about it for today. We were discussing the state of Alabama versus Brittany Smith. So if you haven't checked it out yet, check it out and leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Of course, all that great stuff. I guess that's it for us. So I'm Jeff.
Oh, and I'm Kay.
And I'm Katie. And this has been Documentary Club. We'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you so much, and aloha.